AI is making it so much easier for many businesses out there to run some profitable Google ads. But at the same time, many brands are truly struggling when it comes to scaling to the next level, breaking through this invisible ceiling, and simply spending more money on Google. So, how is that possible? In today's video, I want to talk about all of these topics. I want to talk about what the future of AI may look like and the role it plays in what I just mentioned. I want to talk about the two-layer strategy that we're using here at Cartlift to scale our e-commerce clients with Google Ads and how we help them break through this invisible ceiling and how you can apply that to your business. And also, I want to talk about when to use AI functionality, when to listen to it, and when to just do things all by yourself. So with all of that being said, without any further ado, let's get started. I highly recommend that you watch this video till the very end because there are many things that are coming up. Let's get started. So first of all, let's talk about this new reality now in mid-2025 and probably also beyond that I like to call the AI plateau. You probably experienced that firsthand. It is very easy to get a simple campaign going like a Performance Max campaign, tell Google to spend like $3,000 a month, and depending on what you sell and if you have a decent website, normally you will see some fairly okay results from Google just by letting it do its thing, right? The AI is pretty sophisticated at this point. Performance Max campaigns without any crazy high quality input will give you decent returns if you are not sort of messing things up entirely. And this is a great way for small brands, as I said in the beginning, to get their foot in the door, spend a little bit of money on Google without having to worry about like getting an agency or learning about Google Ads. So in that regard, Google really leveled the playing field for everyone. But here's the catch. When everyone has access to the same AI tools, of course, it means that you really need to do something different and you really need to provide the system with, amazing signals and do a great job if you want to actually outcompete everyone else. Because by definition, not everyone can, of course, outperform. Not everyone can achieve above average results. And I still remember a couple of years back, getting like even decent results was something where you have to put a lot of work in, you have to do a lot of manual fine-tuning, but at the same time, if you really want to crush everyone, you simply have to put in more work, and that's sort of more or less it, right? Nowadays, it's sort of the opposite. Everyone can get decent results or get some revenue by setting up a PMax campaign, and that's it. But the moment that you really want to scale things hard, now you have like so many options and so many things to do, and you don't know exactly sort of what to do next, how to structure your campaigns, and so on and so forth, if you really want to get that above average result. But here's the trap. If everyone has access to the exact same AI tools, of course, this doesn't mean that everyone will get above average results. That's by definition not possible. So what we see with all the accounts that we audit, the clients that we manage here at Cartlift, where we work specifically with e-commerce brands and scale their Google Ads, whenever I do a new audit, I notice that the setup almost looks exactly the same, right? PMax, very heavy on brand, a little bit of shopping, a little bit of search, but immediately these brands run into scaling issues, whether that's at 5, 10, 50, 100,000 per month in ad spend. Doesn't really matter. But the point is, they sort of lack this sort of game plan to scale to the next level doing what they currently do. And I can tell you that this is the exact problem, that with all the AI tools that you have at hand that Google is giving you, it makes it very difficult to see through it and understand what is really needed to scale to the next level, right? Because it is easier than ever to enter, as I said, but it's harder than ever to truly stand out and grow and scale and really dominate your sub-niche. And in order to do that, in order to actually break through, I want to now talk about a relatively straightforward two-layer strategy. And the first layer of the strategy is what I like to call technical mastery, or basically like out executing the AI. You see, a couple of years back, basically the one that was doing the most like negative keyword research and bidding on individual keywords and just basically micromanaging the account 10 times a day, that person would win. And that brand would get the most relevant traffic on Google, and everything was pretty straightforward. Lots of work in, lots of results out, and that was it, right? This level of sort of micromanagement is not needed anymore. But at the same time, yes, mastering the technical aspects of Google Ads still is super, super important. You see, just putting a simple PMAX campaign up and like spending $1,000 a day on it will give you okay results, but definitely not the best, right? Because Google is still not accounting for your absolute best performers or products with a great margin. It doesn't completely optimize your product feed for you. It doesn't really understand all the tiny little details of all your products. It doesn't necessarily write the best ad copy from scratch. It may give you good ideas, it may rotate them properly, but it doesn't do so according to all the best practices from the very, very first try. It also doesn't produce crazy high quality assets yet. Of course, it is getting better at all of these things, but I'm talking about right now, you are definitely missing out if you have like an auto-generated, auto-optimized PMAX campaign where you throw everything in. So basically, out executing the system by knowing which campaigns to launch, how to structure them, how to assign the budgets, when to use PMAX, when to use shopping, when to use structured shopping. Do you need 3 shopping campaigns or 10, right? How do you interact, GA4, Merchant Center, Google Ads, and then also your store behind it? How do all of these things play together? How do you structure your search campaigns, which landing pages, and so on and so forth? All these, I would say, operational things still matter a lot, and there is a way to do it perfectly well. And there is a way to actually completely harm your performance by not doing it well. And letting it done by, or sort of letting Google Ads do it for you sits somewhere in the middle. As I said, it will do okay. It will not completely tank your accounts unless you have given it like super, super bad inputs. But it will also definitely not make you spend the amount of money that you could on Google and scale your brand to the level that was theoretically possible. One great example here is one of our biggest clients ever, where at peak we were spending about like $350,000-ish per month just on Google Ads, and also almost exclusively on like shopping, search, and performance max, right? Crazy profitable, way above 6-7x ROAS, without being focused on just brand. We had, of course, some brand in there as well, but not at all, not anywhere close. Sort of majority of the account was brand. And this was all done by sort of operational excellence, right? By making sure that you have the right campaigns, structure everything properly, doing everything that I described and much more, which meant we had to get actually more diverse in our set of campaigns. By the way, I'm not saying the more campaigns, the better. I'm just saying that oftentimes this one-size-fits-all PMAX is not what getting you the best results. And this was a prime example of how it is still possible to out-execute the AI, doing everything properly and then getting way better results than with this one-size-fits-all consolidated PMAX. And one more thing here is, I touched upon this like 2 minutes ago, is your website, right? Many brands forget about that entirely. And when we work with brands on their Google Ads, we always give them ideas and inputs and feedback on their site, on their product page, above the fold, the buy box, how they should restructure it, maybe specifically for Google Ads traffic. Because even though having better or worse Google Ads obviously has a major impact on your overall performance, having a better or worse store or website also has crazy impact on your performance, of course. So you absolutely have to look at both how you're getting the traffic, how you're acquiring people, and how you're actually converting them on your site, and what you can do to maximize conversion rates, average order value, and so on and so forth. This is getting even more important now that everyone can run ads relatively easily. And now I want to talk about the second layer of this 2-layer strategy, and that is like creative expansion, where you don't want to only focus on the pull channels, like the original Google Ads campaign types, search and shopping. Most people, when they think about Google Ads, they still think about search and shopping only, more or less. But actually opening up and going down the route of push channels, where you embrace things like YouTube ads, demand gen, display, also all these campaign types within Performance Max itself. Personally, with everything that's going on in AI, I can imagine that search ads will get less and less and less relevance over the next, 1 or 2 years already, because more and more people will use things like ChatGPT, LLMs in general, Gemini, their own AI agents, and so on and so forth. I can see that, when I'm looking things up, very often I turn straight to Gemini, ask it a few things rather than going to Google search. I still use search for a lot of things, and I assume you are as well. But when it comes to, many informational queries especially, I think in e-commerce we're a bit safer here, because people still mainly shop products by going to Google or Amazon, etc. They are not necessarily starting their shopping sort of process on an LLM itself. but this will of course change at some point in the near future as well. But especially the pull channels and especially search, I think will get some issues here. Whereas the pull channels, right, YouTube, demand gen, display, etc., they are heavily underutilized in my opinion. Almost no brand that I audit, almost no client that comes to us has been diving into these before. Maybe they have tried, they spent like $2,000 on a demand gen campaign at some point, or they spent $1,000 on the YouTube campaign a year ago. It completely tanked because they were never really treating it as a serious channel that they really want to make work. And I can tell you from experience that if you just put 1 or 2,000 in, you just repurpose your Facebook traffic, you don't really think about how to make it work properly, this is almost doomed to fail, right? Because there are so many specifics and intricacies about YouTube, for example, the way that people interact with YouTube, the fact that they are watching a potentially long form video, the fact that you pay after 30 seconds, the fact that you need to get them hooked within 5 seconds, the fact that you really need to convince them on your site. There are so many details that are required to convert someone on YouTube, and I would argue that's way more difficult than to convert them from sort of Facebook and Instagram, Meta, right? So these things are getting more and more important in my opinion because they won't be completely replaced by an LLM or by an AI. Sure, this may happen as well, but I see the classical Google search, especially informational search, way more at danger, let's say, than, for example, all these push channels. And I can tell you that even though with our clients, yes, the vast majority of our ad spend still goes towards shopping, search, and PMAX, but they're also primarily shopping and search. We are adding more and more and more sort of visual campaigns to the mix. We're helping clients build assets. We're building assets ourselves for them as well. We've built a whole bunch of AI processes in the background to sort of design ads that actually look good, actually come up with nice inputs and creatives for them. And I believe that this second layer of using push channels rather than just grabbing the sort of intent and grabbing the buying intent that is already there will be more and more important in the future because it's not as easy for the AI to capture all of it. But again, very important. Yes, shopping and search at this point in time, they're still super, super relevant. And it goes back to the first layer where I mentioned that you have to get the execution 100% right if you want to make sure that you stand a chance of like doubling, tripling, quadrupling your budgets and really scaling to the next level. So knowing about these two layers now, you might ask yourself, well, how should I approach this, right? Sort of, how should I run it myself? When should I hire someone else? When should I look for an in-house PPC manager or whatever else it might be? My honest response to that is if you have a very low budget and you don't see it, significantly increase anytime soon, maybe you just got started, maybe you say that you just wanted to give it a little test, spend like, I don't know, $3,000 a month or something on Google. You don't have the time to deal with it. You don't want to learn it. You don't want to hire someone for it yet. Also, you don't want to hire an outside agency yet or whatever. That is the sort of time and place and budget where you want to rely on Google Ads automation, right? You want to use some Performance Max campaign, put your product feed in. Don't worry if it's not 100% optimized. Don't worry if you don't have like the perfect PMAX structure with all the proper asset groups and product segmentation and audience targeting. That is all not super relevant at that level yet. And whether you hit a ROAS of like 2.7 or 3.1, yes, of course, that makes a huge difference in the end if you want to scale. But if you just want to test the waters, spend a little bit of money, then by all means, go down that route. And I personally think you don't need an agency for that, or let alone an in-house person, and a bunch of fixed costs, unless you really say you want to approach it in a very, very serious way and you want to get that 3,000 per month to 30,000 per month as quickly as possible. Now, on the other hand, if you have a more serious budget, 10,000 a month, 50,000 a month, 100,000 a month, and you wonder how to break through this invisible ceiling, then you have to do what I mentioned before. You have to reach this sort of excellence and outperform the AI by setting everything up the way that I just mentioned before, right? Making sure that you use all the right campaign types, all the right settings, merchant, feed, understand the product, segment properly, write better ad copy, refine, optimize, and so on and so forth. And then also at least try these push channels. Not every brand will be able to make them work. If you have a very boring technical product, if you're a store selling 10,000 parts for some machinery, probably demand gen, display, YouTube are not your best friends. But when I look across many of the brands that I work with, like cosmetics, jewelry, furniture, fashion, and so on and so forth, very often there is definitely a great fit for these push channels as well. Yes, it's harder, but it's absolutely worth diving into this. And if you now say you have a budget that is higher, right? 10, as I said, 10, 20, 50, 100K or more, but you have this invisible ceiling above you and you cannot just go through it, then you need those exact things, which means either you really have to learn all the details about Google Ads and you have to learn about, which things matter, which things you should do yourself, and which you should hand over to the AI. Or you want to get someone in-house that does it for you, that like uses and embraces AI where it makes sense, but also applies strategic, thoughts and structure and everything where it also makes sense. Or of course, you just get someone like us here and you say, hey guys, I want to focus on other things. Please scale my Google Ads and break through this invisible ceiling. $40 million in ad spend, etc., doing this for about 8 years now. And this is also another possibility, of course, and another option to break through it. But my point is, while you can absolutely get to a decent level with all this automation, it is very difficult to break through all of it and break through the noise and break through the ceiling if you are not doing something actively to sort of stand out in the crowd. I hope that kind of made sense to you. So this was my take now on what I think the current stage of AI inside Google Ads is, and also where I think this is all heading. As I said, near future, long-term future. When I say long-term, in this case, this could literally mean like 4 years only, because the progress is so super, super fast that just within the next 1 or 2 years, honestly, the Google Ads dashboard might look entirely differently. Like Google Ads probably gives you very specific sort of campaign structures that you can simply apply with a click of a button. They can give you all the assets. I don't know. Some of these things are, of course, already work in progress. Others are probably still quite far away. But the point is, there's massive change going on. And if you want to now break through the invisible ceiling, as I said before, if you want to be future-proof, if you want to make sure that if you have the budget and if you are serious about Google Ads, that you actually do everything possible to get you, to this top 3%, top 1% level inside your niche or your category, then I invite you to jump on an Ignite call with me where we discuss everything that I just said specifically for your brand. So where's the potential? Is push a valid choice for you? What has to be done to increase your ad spend by 20%, 50% or more? And what is actually possible with your brand given this current, Google trend and where everything is heading towards? So if that sounds good, make sure to check the link in the description. The call is free. It's not a sales pitch like many of these other calls that you've tried before. I will make sure that I will come fully prepared, and the more you share about the business, the better. But you don't have to, go through a 30-step form or anything. So make sure to check the link in the description if this sounds interesting to you. Also, please leave a like and please subscribe to this channel if you enjoyed this video and if you want to learn more about Google Ads and performance marketing for e-commerce. So with all that being said, thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to see you in the next video again. Bye-bye.